Ooh. Oh, I just got off watching a video about hunting coup villages. Now I'm hyped to go and hunt those babies down myself because I want to make my first coup village and I want to hunt that bastard down. The bastard is asking for it. Anyways, welcome to the second video of the series. This is the third time I've had to record this because a bunch of other things just kept getting in the way. Second time around, there was just like a bunch of Discord notifications, which was giving me a big old headache. It was like, leave me alone, Discord. So, and now I'm doing not disturb, and now I've got on what is the third recording, and this is good. Like, I still have fun doing this, not gonna lie. Now, I feel like I should say this. If you saw the title of the video, I am going to be doing purely staves on this one because I watched a lot of Dragon Ball Super, and I wanted to pay homage to the original series in some way, and I remembered in the original Dragon Ball, Kid Goku always liked to use his power pole, which is a staff. So that's the inspiration for this. I'm doing purely three staffs of this for this video, and the next one's just going to be going back to randoms, or if you want me to do non-meta and meta videos respectively, well, not respectively, just like if you want me to do a video for non-meta weapons and then a video for the current for the meta weapons, so like for example Galatine Prime, Grand Prime, and that. I mean, I'll eventually iron them all out, but I like to start with the non-meta. So, leave a comment if you want me to do a video of both categories separately. Anyways, for the first staff, we're going to be doing one that you can only get from a quest. Which, in this case, because one thing I should mention is that the staffs are all impact-based weapons. So, this scenario I'm testing them in is not ideal. They are better off going up against the Corpus, but they still hold their own, even against armored targets. So, for the first one, we have Broken Scepter. Now, you can only get this after completing the War Within, but you get this for free, and it has a mechanic where you can drain enemies for health orbs from flesh targets, like bombards, heavy gunners, and those types of targets, or energy orbs from robotics. Now, that latter is really good for endurance runs in terms of the Corpus, because say you keep bumping into nullifier bubbles and you just have the worst luck in avoiding these shields and constantly losing your abilities, you can refresh your energy with that. So, big plus there. As for its damage, it's not too shabby. I mean, from a cold start, this thing is the fastest to ramp up out of all of them. So let me just put my money where the mouth is real quick. Let's go to the build. For build-wise, we have stance mod as Clashing Forest, which is pretty much my main one at this point. I have yet to try the other stances yet, but I'm definitely going to try. And for the other mods, we got Prime Pressure Point for melee damage, Virulent Scourge and Voltaic Strike for corrosive damage, Organ Shadow for crit damage, and Blood Rush for crit chance as the combo counter goes up. Blood Rush is still pretty good on this, even though it's technically been nerfed a little bit. I'm not really sure whether to call it nerf or above, but 10% crit chance is just enough for it to work, which is still, like, I'm not complaining about that, because the extra crit does help. Then we have Condition Overload for extra damage as we proc more status, which is not very good in this case, but, well, it's pretty average in this case, but with my Riven down there in the corner, you'll see, I'll show you, it will definitely help in that regard. Then we have Prime Fury for attack speed, and last but not least, Drifting Contact for combo duration and status chance. Now, I will showcase my Riven real quick. For this Riven, we have Broken Scepter Chronido, which adds a cold damage and attack speed. So I could easily drop Prime Fury, put Drifting Contact somewhere, and then add Primed Reach. If I wanted to, but I feel I could just swap Organ Shadow and leave that as is, because this is still pretty good. So, on to the test. I have to mention that I'm using a hero with extremely high power duration, because staffs in this testing were annoying ragdolling to annoying proportions, so I could not hit them consistently. So this, I've tried other Warframes to crowd control, like Ivara, Nidus, or Inaros, Nova, but that last one doubled the damage, so that was technically counting as a damage buff. I don't want to do that. The only one that was able to consistently hold them still was Hero. Even Limbo wasn't able to hold them still. So that's the reason why. Duration is up at max because his 1 doesn't hold them for very long. So that is my explanation for using Hera instead of just using Oberon like I do in other videos. Still, you see, it will take a bit of a ramp up because it's a cold start from the Senior thing, but if you were doing this in a long duration mission, this will already be at its max power right away when you take it on the levels like this. See, took it out pretty fast. And quick example of its effect is mechanic. It generates energy orbs from a... not energy orbs, sorry, my brain's half shut off for the night already. It generates a health orb from a bombard. If I were to take out a Moa or something like that, it'll generate energy orbs. So, pretty handy for a weapon like this. And that was the test without a Riven. Now we'll flick over to... we'll do my Riven setup real quick. Drop Prime Fury, put Drifting Contact. I'll leave Prime Reach out because it's up to you if you want to have that instead. If you have the Naramon Focus ability, which will allow you to get extra combo duration, you can easily drop Drifting Contact and add Prime Reach in this case. So, let's go back to this. Now, the extra status proc will definitely help in regards to Condition Overload. That was the problem I was dealing with. Let's just let that reset real quick. Okay. Shut up. Come on. Oh, sorry. Let's just go. See, there's corrosive, cold, puncture, slash. So you see the combos, it ramped up super fast because of the extra status proc. So the damage is very good in this case. Is Broken Scepter, and onto a verdict, is Broken Scepter worth picking up? It was already pretty good, just underused. So I'd have to give it a big thumbs up and a hell yes, because this weapon does look pretty good without the skin. Not gonna lie, but I just like this bearer skin. It looks really nice on staffs. Plus, kind of like with staff skins, if you look closely, let me get a good angle. You see, the orb actually kind of suits it in this case. Because if I were to change the coloring of this to gold, I thought it was right smack center, but it still looks pretty good from a distance. It actually adds to this effect, so it's not that bad. So, Bow Prime, definitely worth picking up. I mean, you get this weapon for free because of how you obtain it. So, worth keeping, hands down. Next weapon on the list is Bow Prime. This one is currently vaulted, and while it does get unvaulted occasionally, it's not going to stay that way. So, Bow Prime's probably the hardest of the 3 to get. Actually, no, without doubt, it is the hardest to get, because you have to wait until either it's unvaulted, or if you have the platinum to buy the set. So, is it worth picking up? Still yes. But, if you're not willing to invest platinum, I'd say no, because it's going to take a fair while for this to get unvaulted. And the unvaultings happen every 6 months. So, well, actually no, I'm lying. Sorry, I forgot the unvaultings happen a lot more often now. So, if Bow Prime shows up, definitely pick it up. This is worth it. Now onto the build, because originally this thing had 12.5% crit chance and 20% status chance. Now it's been, if we flick over to this, it's now got 32% status chance and 24% crit chance with some extra crit damage. So, very worth picking up for those supplemental stats alone. Now, onto the build. Clashing Force with a stance. That's my mandatory one there in terms of stances, because I haven't been able to test the other ones yet. Whether they're good, I don't know. For mods, we have Berserker for attack speed. I felt Prime Fury was a bit too slow in this case, but if you have something like if you main something like Arcane Strike, Prime Fury will do you just fine. Prime Pressure Point for melee damage. Condition Overload for damage as we rack up the status procs. Virulent Scourge and Voltaic Strike for corrosive and status chance. Blood Rush for crit chance. Organ Shatter for crit damage. And Drifting Contact for combo duration and status chance. This one also has a Riven, and in this case, it's much like the Serrata Riven in my last video, which adds crit damage, melee damage, but negative damage to Grineer. Which, with that negative, I did not notice. So, all in all, very good Riven. Is it ideal? No. But is it good? Yes. So, not complaining on that. Also, sorry if you hear that. There's someone lighting fireworks nearby. So, on to the test. This one's a bit slower than the Broken Scepter to ramp up, but it is still very strong. This is not even its ideal scenario. Like, cold start in the simulation, it's going against armor, so it's going to take some damage mitigation there. Look at that damage as the combo multiplier got into the higher territories. That thing shredded. So, from that alone, I can easily tell you it is worth picking up the Bow Prime for that damage. Again, there could be easily other weapons that outclass this, but if you're not worried about meta, this thing can handle anything it throws at it. The game will throw at it. Hands down. Now, I want to showcase my Riven, which you might not get these stats, but the good thing about this, apart from having a strong disposition, the bow Rivens are open to many different stats. You're not limited to just like the stats I've got here. You could do crit focus. You could add range, attack speed, raw damage, elemental. It's like an elemental actually would be good in this case because the more status procs you can accumulate, the faster condition overload will kick in. So the more elementals, that's good. Status chance. You could also add things like crit chance, crit damage. There's no limit. Well, there are some, but very few. So bow Riven, you have one, don't toss it. It is gonna help it will help the bow drastically. Well, because if we flick this here and then we swap we'll swap that for Earning Shadow because this adds crit damage. It's like, you see, the crit damage on my Riven made it go up to 6.6 times. So already, this will ramp up quite a bit faster than before. It's like, again, because this is a cold start, it's going to be a bit slow, but as you see, it ramps up so much faster. Absolutely wrecked. So, bow prime worth picking up? Hell yes. Do not pass this weapon up. It looks great. As evidence, because I don't need a skin for this. This looks sexy. Now, the last staff is going to be the weakest of the three, but that does not mean it's, like, weak as in it can't handle anything. Literally, with this change, almost, like, none of the weapons can't handle swordy level enemies. That's all I can say. Now, if we scroll up a couple, here we are. The final weapon on our list is the Amphis. Now, I am going to need one more former to finish this build, which I'll probably do after this. The Anthis is pretty easy, and the easiest of the three to get a hold of, because its blueprints available in the market, it's pretty cheap on resources, and it's acquired at Mastery Rank 5, which is the minimum you need to access the War Within anyways. So, to get the Amphis, it's pretty weak by comparison to the other two, but that does not mean by any stretch it's weak as a weapon. It can hold its own, but not against 160 right off the bat. From a cold start, this is pretty weak. But if you give it time to ramp up over an endurance run, I bet this will easily hold its own just as well as the Bow Prime and the Broken Scepter. So, on to the build. For this, stance, pretty the same as always. Then we have, for stances, we have Prime Pressure Point for melee damage. Then we have Prime Fury for attack speed. Drifting Cunt for combo duration and status chance. Voltaic Strike and Virulent Scourge for corrosive damage and status chance. Condition Overload for as we add more status procs. This will ramp up our damage significantly. Now, this is the reason for the need for a third forma. Organ Shatter can't be maxed out in this one, because it's like, I'll just need one forma shy of getting this build to full capacity, to actually fully maxed out. But I have a max rank Organ Shatter waiting just for that. So, Organ Shatter for crit damage, and last but not least, Blood Rush, because 13% crit chance is just enough to make this work. Well, 10% is just enough, so 30%, even better. So if we... Now, I'm going to have to drop this level down to 100, but this means it can easily handle Sortie 3 enemies, and you'd be just fine. Hello, Mr. Billy the Bombard. Sorry, AGGP. I am going to steal that for a bit. It's like, just like the others, it's going to be a little bit ramp up, but does not mean it's by any stretch it's going to be bad. See? Easily handle Sortie 3 level enemies. Fairly easy. And this is, I was putting it against its least ideal situation because bombards are weaker to radiation damage than they are to corrosive. So, all in all, Amphis, worth picking up? Yes. If you like the Grenier aesthetic and you want a staff, go right ahead. I mean, I can't control whether you want to use this or not. I like to use non-meta weapons. If you want to use the meta, like I said earlier, if I do that, I can't remember anymore. My memory is just terrible. Go right ahead. If you want to use meta, that's your choice. I just want to showcase the non-meta first, but doesn't mean I hate the meta. I just feel it's a bit, I would burn myself out too quickly if I were to stick to the meta. So, in that sense, non-meta are more entertaining to use, because that gives me more variety. So, Amphis, worth picking up? Yes. And if I were to have a ribbon for it, this thing, like the Bow Prime, is not limited to what you could add to it. You could have attack speed, range, status chance, raw damage, crit chance, crit damage. You could have almost all the stats on a ribbon you could have on this, and it would only improve the Amphis damage output. That's all I'm willing to say, because it is still worth it. Don't get me wrong. It's the weakest of the three from a cold start. Whether it's the same for an endurance run, I have yet to find out. But I can safely say from this that it could easily hold its own in terms of Sortie level enemies, or if the raids ever decide to come back. Where are they? Please bring them back. I miss them. Sorry, a little rant there. Anyways, thank you for watching. Leave a comments if you want me to do a separate video for meta weapons and go alongside non-meta. Leave a like, hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. And in the meantime, yeah.